And we are on in 3, 2, 1. Are we live? Yes, we are. Here we go. All right, cool. I wonder when it actually started. All right, guys, welcome to the live stream. I know no one could hear me right now because I just started it. But if as people roll in, I'm gonna be talking about like some of my latest content. Let's just review like my latest blog post. Let's see how many people we got right now. Nobody right now. All right. You're going to come in and you're going to enjoy it. And get your questions ready. And yeah, so let's begin with checking out my Instagram feed. Can you guys see this? Yeah, this should be visible. Actually, no, we're going to go over my blog post. So I recently put out a blog post recently. And by the way, if you haven't seen my latest video on downward dog, definitely check it out. It is, it's all about downward dog in great detail. Okay, so it just says take your down dog to the next level. All right. So I gotta stop saying so, right, guys? I say so, now, and as like filler words. All right, we got people coming in. Welcome. Let me know if the audio is good. If you can hear me fine, then, you know, awesome. All right, cool. People are coming in. Welcome. Awesome. So I'm going to go over this blog post I made just like a few days ago. I think it was last Sunday I released it. I tend to do things on Sundays, by the way. So anytime I have new content, a new video or blog post, I try to put it out on Sundays. So the title of this post, I'll make it bigger. It says, "Don't be fooled." Oh, can you see that? You can if I move me. Well, I'll just move the thing. It says, "Don't be fooled. Why the best performers aren't automatically the best teachers." Hey, Luke, thanks for saying the audio is good. And thank you for the hello, fire test. Awesome. All right, so basically, here's a photo of Simon. I don't know how to exactly say it. He's holding a front lever, and if you know Simon, he's like incredibly talented. Okay. Now, at the same time, I'm not. This whole blog post has nothing to do with him. It's just a photo of him to display a high level move called the front lever, which is something very highly sought after in the calisthenics world. Now, I just wanted to say that this topic is basically all about that if you're short and lean, the human experience and journey of calisthenics is going to be very different than your taller, heavier brethren. Okay? So being short and lean makes for a huge advantage with body weight exercises. Okay? So much so that like if you are short and lean, you can get by with like terrible programming, no real routine, just doing things to failure and then achieving things with a linear, progressive manner. However, if someone is tall or heavy or both, usually they go hand in hand as your limbs get longer, surface area increases, as your surface area increases by the square, the mass increases by the cube. So mass usually equals to weight, and the weight exponentially gets greater relative to the height, which is the main reason why the taller you get, the slower and slower the gains will be. And not only the gains themselves, but also aesthetically, a shorter person doesn't need to do as much work for as not to say not as much work, but in a less amount of time, they will look more built, basically. They'll look more muscular. So I just wanted to point these little points out because it's a very fascinating topic. A lot of people are tall and they get discouraged, but you shouldn't get discouraged, okay? This is just part of your journey. This is just the way it is. And I see that 5'9" or 175 centimeters seems to be that tipping point, okay? So this is like from training with countless people at Muscle Beach. I noticed that we started like years ago, like it's been 8 years now, and if someone it was 5'9" or shorter, they kept progressing at a rate that is completely different than anyone taller than that. That seems to be like the spot where the sweet spot where the disparity, where the exponential gains or exponential progress versus non-exponential progress it takes place. Okay, so even just a few, even a few pounds makes a difference. When I'm doing front lever work, if I lose 5 pounds, huge difference, massive difference. The performance, my ability to perform, it could be like any difficult move, like handstand push-up, even, I mean, everything feels so much easier just from 5 pounds. So imagine someone is like 5'2" and 130, 120 pounds, right? That is that's like, imagine like being 50 pounds lighter than me. The experience of calisthenics is going to be wildly different, and that's why gymnastics, they're all short. Okay, let's just, and that's why also it's obviously specific to that sport. Like in basketball, they're all tall. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is. And it's not because gymnastics makes you shorter, and it's not because playing basketball at a young age makes you taller. It's just that the sports weed out the people who are not optimal for that sport, and you start seeing only tall people for basketball and only short people for gymnastics, so to speak. Okay, so how's the chat doing? Everyone's good? There's a lot of things coming in. Okay, good. I'm just gonna keep going over this stuff. So I say, for example, I had a friend who's like pretty short. He's 5'3" and never trains the front lever, right? And I've been training, at that point I had been training it for a long time, a year, and I asked him if he ever works on it, and he says no, he just does pull-ups and dips. And then I asked him if he wants to try it. He was able to hold a full front lever for a fraction of a second, which is a fraction of a second longer than me after putting in a year of work. Why? Because he's half a foot shorter than me, probably 50 pounds, maybe even at that point it was definitely 50 or 55 pounds lighter than me. So it's pretty incredible, okay? Like, it's just amazing. However, I don't see this as a bad thing, guys. There's a difference between relative strength, which is basically your strength to weight ratio, and your absolute strength. Someone who's like really tall, and if they work out and get strong, they're gonna be much stronger than someone who's shorter and putting in the same amount of time into the workouts, right? And over the same amount of time, because their absolute strength, their actual strength is higher. It's just relative strength where it comes to calisthenics and your body weight exercises. They're going to be at a disadvantage. All right, and that's why there's classes, right? In sports, there's weights. There's different weight classes, because otherwise it would be unfair, right? Now, getting to the point, I say the lighter, shorter folks will often master bodyweight exercises faster. However, it doesn't automatically mean that they will be the best coaches or teachers despite their incredible performance abilities. You don't know how many times I've been disappointed in seeing somebody do something incredible and something I've been working toward, and then I go ask them for any tips, and then I quickly realized that they never struggled with attaining this move at all. Like, they couldn't even relate to the progressions I was on because they probably skipped it. You know what I mean? They progressed so fast that so my point is that just because they can perform at a certain level doesn't mean that they are the best teachers for people struggling with that, because they could have zipped through the whole thing, right, and cannot relate to the struggles that you or I had to deal with, right? So their teaching skills, now I'm not saying they're all like this. No, there are a few excellent teachers, but in general, just don't automatically assume that just because they're good at something that they're great teachers. There are plenty of great teachers though, but you just have to find out for yourself. All right, there's like I can tell personally, but it helps to just be aware of this. And the same concept applies to flexibility and weight loss as well. So for example, if someone is born with hypermobility, right, whenever they go down to the front splits, they're a few inches away. They never really tried to work at it. They're just that flexible that they almost have the front splits. Now, do you think those people relate or know how to help someone who can't touch their toes? I don't think so. Usually, if they didn't struggle with it, they're not sure, their advice is not going to be that great. Now, like, compare that to me. I was not flexible. Maybe I was flexible when I was 3 years old or something, but like throughout my teenagehood and adolescence, like I was not flexible. I was just a computer nerd and I didn't work on flexibility at all, right? So but I worked at it, and now I have good flexibility all around in every way, as far as I can tell. And I feel that I'm very qualified to help people because I know the struggle of going from being inflexible to flexible and what it takes to get there, right? But if you see someone who practicing contortion and doing insane flexibility stuff, you might be like, oh, they know how to help me. They might, but they might not. Okay, so just be aware of that. Same thing goes for weight loss. All right, if someone has always been lean, never had an issue with binge eating, never had any cultural issues like where your family is constantly feeding you or there's junk around the house, and there's this issue around I'm Armenian, and there's an issue with in our culture where everyone, like the parents and the grandparents, are always trying to get you to eat all the time, right? And if you say no, it's insulting, right? So a lot of people in our culture are overweight, and this stems from this is a social and cultural issue. So food is very complex, right? Now, if someone was born in a family where it was the opposite, right, where they were not fed enough, they always were very on the lean side and underweight, or they came from a poor family, right? And so they look pretty ripped without a shirt. You could see a lot of their muscles, but can those people help you to lose weight? I don't know. Now, compare that to someone like who struggled with obesity and lost it and kept it off. I would trust those people more, right? So it's like the same concept. I'm just applying it. And I say at the end that this is a blessing in disguise, that I am on the taller end. I say I'm not looking for pity, or I don't wish I was short or anything like that. I genuinely enjoy my training to the fullest, okay? And I say that my tallness is a blessing in disguise because my struggles make me a better teacher, right? So I always have to try to find the silver lining in everything. If I don't, I mean, life is going to be very dreary and sad, and it's going to suck if I'm always like, oh, I'm moping around, I wish I was this, I wish I was that. No, your weakness is your gateway to your strength. Remember that line. Your weakness is your gateway to your strength. If you are not happy about something, at least you know what you need to do to get better at it, right? So I'll show you a little bit of highlining I did recently a few days ago. This highline is basically a slack line set up in between two mountaintops, and it's like, this one is like pretty long. I think it's almost 100 feet long, and that's my friend walking on it. You know, that it's a tough line. I couldn't stand on it or take a step. I mean, and that was my 5th time trying it. Here's, we have another person. She's actually succeeding. She walked it down, sat down, switched, and then walked it back. And she was able to do it 2 times during the whole day. So just to give you how hard, that's me falling down. It was such a struggle. So like the first few times I tried the highlining, just literally harnessing in and sitting on the line at the edge of the cliff, my heart was pounding, okay? Like pounding so hard you wouldn't believe. And it was only in this session where I actually did not feel any adrenaline rush until I put my 2nd foot up and I tried to balance. So there's progress there. Here's my friend whipping. Pretty common to just whip around, right? And so that was a little bit of fun recently. And here's my friend doing something very impressive. He's standing sideways on the slack line, on the high line, and then he's going down into a cross-legged seated position, which is pretty nuts. We call it the Buddha sit. Okay, now, all right, so now let's review the chat. Jeff Haynes asks, rings. I'm gonna get some rings for a nearby park with trees. The outdoor gyms are still closed. What are your tips and recommendations for setting up? Basically, I mean, find a tree that, you know, goes like a few feet above your head. It doesn't have to be too tall though, because then it's hard to like actually throw it over. And you're never gonna find a tree that's like perfectly level. It's probably gonna be angled. And yeah, other than that, I mean, it's fairly simple. Just try to find a bar or a tree. You know, sometimes you might have to use the swings of a children's playground. That's like the easiest thing to find, actually. If there's no children there, and it's a very good spot usually. It's a good go-to spot because there's more children's playgrounds than adult playgrounds, and they usually have swings with a nice bar on top. Or sometimes if there's like a soccer field, some people will use the soccer goal or a basketball court. Just try to find structures around your area, or maybe you live right outside your home. There's maybe a railing or something you can use. So just check it out, you know, like try. And I do have a video on setting up gymnastics rings, and this is me doing a bunch of skills, by the way, on the slack line. But if you just type like rings Antranik setup, let's try, that might come up. Yeah, how to set up gymnastics rings with Antranik. Remember to check that out, okay? So, yeah. Now, let's look at the next question. Today you skipped your workout because it's hot as fuck outside. Yes, I know how that is. Yeah, Jacob, you say something interesting, that you being on the shorter end and people knocking you down is demotivating. I mean, that shouldn't be demotivating. Just kick ass. Use your height as an advantage. Why not? Just keep kicking ass, man. Just keep doing at it. Like, who cares that if people are knocking you down because you're progressing faster, I mean, that's just shitty. Okay, I would never do that. I would never say, oh, you know, like, you could do that because you're short. I'm never saying that. Okay, let's just be something. Let's just make it very clear. Sure, you have an advantage, and maybe you can because you are shorter, but taller people can usually get there too. It's just going to take them a lot longer. I mean, I would say if you have that advantage, use it, man. Be proud of it. Like, don't let people get you down. Well, who cares, man? So, yeah, let's go to the next little question if we got. So, where am I? Sorry, guys, reading through your scroll. Have you ever had days, Harvard, is that how I say it? Have you ever had days you just feel off and feel super weak? Today I was going to do my 7th day of the recommended routine, but I couldn't almost do any dips. Oh yeah, I'm going to close this. But I almost couldn't do any dips. Sorry. When I usually do 8 weighted. Listen, that's very normal to have a weekday, to have a day where just things are not going right. Pretty normal. It might be a sign of overtraining. It might be, it's just sometimes even if you're not overtraining and you are just like doing everything right, you just have a shitty day. That's all there is to it, man. So maybe you had dinner right beforehand, or you were really bloated and you're like a little heavier. Those little things make a difference as well. Okay, don't let it get you down. If I've been working now consistently, this is why it's good to keep a log, by the way. Sometimes I'll feel super weak and I'll be like, man, what's wrong with me? And then I look at my log and I realize I've worked 4 days in a row, 4 workout days in a row without a rest day. Okay, and then I realized, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with me. And it's just like this emotional insecurity coming up, thinking I'm not doing enough, right? So don't, if it's like something that's ongoing, okay, there's an issue there. You'll figure it out, I'm sure. But just like, if 1 or 2 workout days are like that, that's okay. Just rest a bit. Do something else, do something therapeutic, you'll recover, okay? Ethan says, I noticed a little knee pain from stretches like pigeon and butterfly. It seems like my body either has strong knees or flexible hips and won't allow both. Pigeon could be very, very hard on the knees, okay? I like to prefer if you go to my 7-minute flexibility routine. If you just go antranik.org/7-minute, you go down to glutes, and then I recommend this figure 4 stretch. Okay, you guys can see that fine. I'm gonna move out the way. Yeah, basically you're lying on your back, you cross one leg over the other, and then you grab your thigh grab the back of your thigh. If that's too easy, grab your shin. This is much gentler on the knee than pigeon pose. I like to do pigeon pose. I love pigeon pose, but I would start with this. Even if I want to do pigeon pose, I would start with this. And then basically, if the hips are lacking external rotation, which is... Sorry, I just lost my video card went bad again. Okay, if the hips are lacking external rotation, then the knee has to twist to make up for it. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You're gonna have to be gentle. Yeah. Let's go to the next question. Luke is asking, progress is slow in calisthenics if you're tall and the exercises are harder. You're asking, is it less efficient and better to switch to weights? Listen, if your goal is to just get as strong as possible, or you're just sick of the progress, of the slow progress with body weight exercises, there's nothing wrong with using weights. Weights are going to be very, much more predictable, right? All you have to do is increase the weight gradually, right? So if you want to do that, you can totally do that. Like, it's up to you. It's really about what you enjoy, right? Me personally, even though my progress might be slow in some things, in calisthenics, let's say, it doesn't bother me because I enjoy it, right? If you are enjoying it and you like the journey you are on, stick to it. All right? That's all there. That's all I have to say for that. Now, what's the best place to start with calisthenics if you're a complete beginner without much strength? So, good option would be, I would say, the recommended routine. If you go antranik.org/RR, just 2 letters, RR, and you should see that our Bodyweight Fitness is a Reddit recommended routine that I have made a video on, all about it. So, here's like the synopsis, the summary of it. So it could be a little complicated, but if this is actually too complicated, then I would say go to my minimal routine. If you go antranik.org/minimal, and these are free routines, and the minimal routine is literally only 2 exercises, okay? So if you have an issue, and the minimal one is like more focused for upper body, but like if you have an issue with complexity and you're just like overwhelmed by the recommended routine, then you could start with the minimal, and then if you feel like doing more, you could go to the recommended routine. I mean, honestly, just like jump into it. Maybe you start doing a little bit of the recommended routine and you just keep adding on, right? There's many ways to go about it. So yeah, I hope that helps, Sarah. King Moore says, my standing forward fold stopped progressing. Why? I can touch all the fingers on the floor. I was doing your hamstring flexibility program. I mean, I'm not sure why, but really, it gets to the point where you have to actively push yourself in those stretches that we are doing in the program. You actively have to push yourself a little harder. Maybe you're used to pushing yourself to a certain level of pain and a certain range with certain exercises, with certain stretches. And you have to actively really try to push yourself to that next level if you want to exceed it. Okay? I mean, that's like the best thing I could say, honestly, because it does require a bit of conscious, active effort. Okay, it doesn't just kind of happen, unfortunately. But don't give up. This is how it is. This is how it goes. Gregory says, no question, but I want to say hi and thanks. Your channel is amazing. All the best to you, mate. Thanks, mate. I never use the word mate. I don't know, like, where they actually say it. I guess, in Australia they say it a lot, in the UK maybe. But in the United States, the only time I see mate is online. So, but it's a cool thing. It's cool. Yeah. So next question. I'm doing RTO push-ups. Should I move to wide ring push-ups or try archer push-ups? So RTO push-ups are rings turned out push-ups where the rings are turned out all the time. And that is kind of up to you. I would actually prefer you do RTO pseudo planche push-ups or raise your feet or do both. So basically the rings are turned out and you're just going to be leaning more forward than normal. And that makes it really hard, especially if you elevate the feet. That's my personal preference because I feel like that is an awesome exercise. Okay. You could try, but you could try either one. If like the archer push-ups are more motivating for you, you could do that. But I personally like the RTO push-ups, pseudo planche push-ups with the feet elevated. That's like awesome. Dan says, hey man, I loved your article for APT, which stands for our anterior pelvic tilt. I just wanted to thank you for putting it together. So if you guys go to antranik.org/fix-apt, I'll just put the link. APT. I'll just put the link in the chat so it's easier to get. It says Instagram butt, anterior pelvic tilt, and how to fix bad posture in 4 steps. All right, so that's all about it. Dan was saying how he liked it, so I'm just sharing it in the chat so you guys can see. So Malik says, my question is how to identify my level for max gains. I'm not sure I understand the question actually. Your level for max gains. You mean like what exercise you should do to gain to make sure you're doing it enough? Or so basically I would find an exercise where I can do somewhere between 5 and 12 reps of. Like if you are the kind of person who prefers to do higher reps, like you like to do sets of 12 reps, then I would find exercises where you can't do any more than 10 to 12 reps of something and stick to that. Or if you're the kind of person who likes to work out in like the 6 to 8 rep range, then find an exercise where you can only do 6 to 8 reps of it, right? And then just basically work that up, right? Or maybe you could do only 4 or 5 reps and you work it up to 6 to 8. The point is to just kind of like find what works for you and like find what you actually enjoy, which style you enjoy more, and then just progress on that aspect, okay? You don't have to like, there's no like perfect rep range. What's important is that you put the work in, get the volume in, meaning put the sets and reps in, put the work in, and you will have your gains, okay? Now, in regards to having max gains, I mean, you're not being very specific in your question, so I can't really answer anymore. However, I would recommend the hypertrophy routine that I have. If you go to, I can link it here, my hypertrophy routine. I'll link it in the chat. Like that is probably the most efficient way to have max gains and get strong and in a most efficient time. That one is more complex. It's not for beginners, but I highly recommend it. If your goal is just max gains, just like maximum strength, maximum mass in the shortest possible time, focusing on body weight exercises with some weights, but not really like, you don't need too much, just more like you just need more like, what was I gonna say, you just need like some dumbbells usually, and it's pretty good. If you have a pair of rings, it's perfect. So NP's asking, oh no wait, I missed the question. Edward's asking, is it okay to have a push-pull leg split workout with all the progressions I'm able to do on each workout? Workout with all the progressions I'm able to do on each workout. I'm using them so I have really good lane to progress. I'm not sure I understand this question. Are you asking like to use all the progression, like to do all the progressions? I'm gonna have to get back. I'm gonna have to get back on that if you clarify. How can we make the recommended routine more for hypertrophy? Okay, honestly, it could be as simple as adding a 4th set. Okay, like it says do 3 sets. you can have a fourth set. Okay, that is usually enough to have that extra tipping point of like that extra bit of volume, like that extra last burnout set. But however, don't like take things to the absolute failure, because you generally want to stop like one rep shy of failure, of form failure, because you're risking injury, especially like after 4 sets in. So just be aware of that. You don't want to risk, like you want to do the minimum effective dose every workout to progress, and you want to do that without risking injury, because if you have any injury, any strain, then you're out for like a week, maybe a few weeks, maybe more, and then all of a sudden the whole reason you were pushing harder was to get ahead faster, and now you're not getting ahead at all. So you got to find that balance. Always that kind of, I would say less is more, but if you really want to speed things up, like just do a little more and add a fourth set. That's going to be like my simplest recommendation to the recommended routine. You can also do something pretty much like you could do like, I would say at the end of the workout, you can do kind of like a burnout set where like you do an easier version of an exercise, but you're doing like 20 to 30 reps of them. Okay, so like if push-ups on the floor are very easy for you and you don't normally do them anymore because you do, let's say, handstand push-ups or something like that, but you can end that workout with a burnout set of regular push-ups to like try to do 30 of them or something, like depends. So those are a couple options. They both kind of like they both work because you're adding more volume. You're just getting more reps in. That's the key, man. That's the key. If you want to get bigger, you want to speed that up, you have to do a little bit more. Okay? All right. Let's go next. Passerby is asking, I'm doing the recommended routine. I can't pass the one-legged L-sit to the tucked L-sit. Okay, so basically the tucked L-sit. I would recommend the active, if you just type active pike compression and my name, you'll find this exercise, and I will link it in the... They're basically seated leg lifts, and this will help you a lot. Okay, this exercise will help you a lot. This is like a follow along video that will help you. It will help you a lot. Okay, and if your problem, I mean, that should be helpful. Like just add this to your workout, like 3 sets of them. It's a little excruciating, but it does work. Okay. Malik's asking, I don't have any bands or something to fix my feet, so how can I progress in the hinge? You're talking about the Nordic curls. I would say do a different exercise entirely. So one of the exercise, like look up hamstring curls, okay? And body weight hamstring curls. All right, I don't have a video on it, but you'll find videos on it, or you'll find Reddit posts about it. Body weight hamstring curls. Yeah, and that is going to be a replacement for your hamstrings. Okay, replacement for Nordic or natural leg curls. Anirudh is asking, how do I adapt the recommended routine to make it more body weight, upper body oriented? I'm really happy with my lower body strength with the beginner shrimp squats, but I can't do a push-up yet. Oh, I mean, honestly, just keep at it. Like most of the recommended routine is already upper body oriented. Just do your incline push-ups, your push-ups with the hands elevated. Just keep at it. Like you can do, like what I said earlier, do an extra set of maybe the push-ups or whatever it is that you are trying to do. Okay, having that 4th set can speed things up. That might be what you need to do. you can try it, okay? But you're gonna be progressing pretty well. If you're at the level where you can't do a push-up, you're gonna have nice linear progress in the beginning. It's only when you get to like the intermediate level where things start plateauing and you're gonna need to be a little more specific, okay? Malik's asking another question. I can do pseudo planche push-ups, but not with perfect form. Should I go back to diamond push-ups or stick with pseudo? It depends what's actually wrong with your what's wrong with the pseudo planche push-up. I would say stick to it as long as you know, make sure your lower back is not arching too much, and whenever you're at the top of the push-up and plank, make sure you push the shoulders forward as well at the end, so you're not like retracted. So whenever you do a push-up, you're pushing, and then you're pushing even more, right? Make sure you do that at the top. And I don't know what else. I would just stick to that. I would just stick to the pseudo planche push-ups personally. If the form is like impossible or something, like literally you can adjust the lean, okay? So like don't lean as much if the form is difficult, all right? And I buy your smart core program and will definitely be buying your hypertrophy routine soon. Thanks for the reply. Okay, cool, man. Awesome. Enjoy. And what is the best push-up variation? Well, I lost my thing. What is the best push-up variation to focus on chest more? It's a good question. I don't know if you have a pair of rings, but if you have a pair of rings and you do your push-up, and if you can see me, if you do your push-up, bring the rings in together, clack them in. Okay, does that make sense? So you do your push-up, and then you bring the rings in. Like you just click, hit the rings together, and that like makes the chest really fucking pop. Okay, like it really activates it. You could do that during dips too, by the way. If you're doing a dip, you dip out, and then put the, you can't see it, but basically you put the rings together at the end. And I don't know if you have rings or not, but that is like a good one. So I'm reading what you're saying, Edward. So there's push exercises, progressions, right? And so each workout, do you do all the exercises? No, you don't do all the exercises. You just do like the ones, you just do the highest progressions that you're able to do. Okay? That's all. NP is asking, what about isometrics to burn out your muscles at the end of the recommended routine? Okay, so I personally would not recommend. I'm not crazy about isometrics like that. Okay, the only isometrics I like enjoy or recommend are the bodyline drills. And if you just type bodyline drills, you're gonna get my 5 bodyline drills, right? So which has the plank. It's such an old video, 2014. Oh, it's been a long time. Plank, side plank, and then we got, what else we got? Reverse plank, the hollow hold, and the hollow hold's awesome. And then finally the Superman hold. So when it comes to isometrics, or in other words, static exercises, I like these, but otherwise I'm not crazy about isometrics. I don't know what else they're good for. Some people try to make a workout plan like based only on isometrics. I'm not a fan personally. I like using full range of motion. Okay, I like to work out and be strong in a full range. All right, that's just my way of, my philosophy, and that's what I recommend. Because if I'm going to be putting the effort into something, Like, I might as well just do the full range, right? And I mean, unless we're talking about flexibility training, I would not do isometrics for strength training. Okay? Next. Edward saying, I'm not explaining good enough. Do you have a way to contact you by Gmail? Yes, info@antranik.org. So I can tag you, info@antranik.org. Boom, that's my email. And can I change shoulder band reps with skin the cat? Are you talking about the shoulder dislocates? Yeah, you could. If you're talking about shoulder dislocates, I believe so. Yes, I mean I would do that. I do that personally. Yeah, that works fine, man. Let's see. Is there an alternative for dips? I'm working out from home and don't have sturdy enough furniture. All right, Diego. So I would recommend pike push-ups instead of dips. So dips, you're working out like this, but pike push-ups, you're working out like this. It's an overhead press, and I would recommend you. So pike push-ups are pretty hard if you do them properly. If you just type antranik.org/pike push-ups, and I'll link this in the chat. Do pike push-ups, man. This is what's up. Okay. This exercise is the bee's knees. All right, next. In the recommended routine, what can I do after being able to do the support hold on the kitchen counter, but I don't have rings? There's not much you can do, man. I would say get some rings. They're only like 30 bucks, maybe 40, 50 bucks now. I don't know what it is, but like you'll have them for life. They'll keep you busy for life. They are, relatively inexpensive. Okay, like people pay like more than that for a gym membership, and this thing is a piece of equipment that will last forever, right? And keep you entertained for a while. So honestly, if support hold is easy, just skip that. I mean, it's nothing challenging if you could hold it for 60 seconds already, okay? You've already passed that level. Until you get some rings, I would say just... Oh, my video went out. Sorry, guys. I have to figure out why this keeps happening. Something to do with the open broadcast studio. Yeah. Anyway, next! Sorry, I said that loud. Inside plank. I have trouble understanding where my shoulders should be. If I do my regular plank, my shoulders are ahead of my hands, but when I move to side plank, I'm not sure. Honestly, just like shoulders over the wrists is fine. Like in your side plank, just like kind of like, does that make sense? Shoulders over the wrists, over the hands? Yeah. Fairly basic. Nothing too complicated. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink that aspect, okay? I see. You're renting, so you're not sure if you can screw those rings into the ceiling. So what you can do is you can just get a pull-up bar, like those doorway pull-up bar, which you should have. You should always have a way to hang in your own space. In your home is like imperative, okay? It's like so imperative to have a place to hang, in my opinion, whenever you are at home. And not, and I'm not even saying doing pull-ups. I mean just to hang. Like doing pull-ups is a bonus. And I would say, I think this is what I recommend in my top 8 tips to stay fit without a gym. So make space to lie around. And then you must have a place to hang, even if you do nothing but hang. Okay? So if you get a pull-up bar, you can hang your rings from that pull-up bar. Okay? and that works pretty well, honestly. It's pretty safe too. I mean, I don't know, it works well. So doorways are made of some hard plastic, so I'm not sure they could hold the bar. Interesting. Hard plastic, huh? There's got to be some option. You know, there's like a couple different kinds of pull-up bars. There's ones that hang over the molding, and then there's ones that like are telescoping bars that like go in between the actual frame itself. So maybe the molding one doesn't work, but maybe the telescoping one works. Okay. Other than that, you might have to get the ceiling involved. And that is a little more complicated for sure, and I'm not even actually sure how to go about doing that because I'm not like a carpenter or handyman like that. So Dutch doorways. I don't even know what they look like. Let's look up Dutch doorways. Google images. Oh, like this. Interesting. Alright, is it like a split door? I don't know if that's what it is. But it's got the molding. I wonder what it has the molding, so you could put like those iron gym. So if I type pull-up bar, doorway bars, I mean like these things on Amazon. I see, it's not split, it's just cheap hard plastic. Oh, where's this thing? Yeah, like these kind of things, these kind of bars, they generally work well. You know, if you have Amazon, if you have the Amazon availability, like get one of these bars. If it's not good, return it, you know, or to the local store. Buy it. If they have a good return policy, try it. If it doesn't work, you know, try like hanging with your feet on the ground. Try hanging with 1 foot off the ground. If it's still holding up, try with both feet off the ground. And then, you know, if it's holding up, it's holding up. Like, you're gonna be fine. But if it's not, if you hear something creaking, something going on, maybe find a handyman local and then just ask them what they would recommend. So yeah. Thank you for suggestions and thank you for the videos. I could never get motivation to work out in the gym, but with you I look forward and I'm working 3 weeks straight. Well, that's fantastic, man. Good job. That is great. That's a great thing you're doing for yourself. And you're welcome, both Passerby and Jasmine. Now, if there's no more questions, it's been a good hour chatting with all of you. I wish I could hang out. I wish I could like hear you guys as well, but you know, this is the best we could do now in the post-COVID-19 life. Is TRX a good alternative to rings? So let me show you the issue with TRX. So the TRX has this issue where you see how like there's this, you could see this, right? See how like there's this center point where the things come together like this? Now that makes it very different than the rings, okay? You could do rows on TRX. It's more comfortable. Like TRX, the padding is more comfortable than rings. However, you can't like do a basic support hold. It's not easy to do like, what was I gonna say? You can't do like skin the cat. There's a lot of things you can't do the muscle up. There's a lot of things that are different about it. Plus, they're expensive. However, I'm sure there's like rip-off, like, you know, imitations of the TRX, which are very cheap, which they should be cheap because there's nothing like insanely, there's nothing that should be expensive about a TRX, the TRX straps. So, and there's nothing expensive about gymnastics rings, rightly so, but gymnastics rings are like a little more ideal. TRX is good though if you really don't have a place to set up, and you know, if you want to do rows or something like that, but in that case, you can just use a bed sheet, you know, the bed sheet trick, if you know my video. You've seen this video of mine, I'm sure. My dog has seen this video because she's like staring at me intently as I show it. But basically, let's forward to the part. You can do rows using a table, right? But if you don't have a table, you can just make a knot at the end of a bed sheet, right? There's a knot at the end of it. And then you literally just like throw it over your door. And then you shut the door, like flatten it out, and then, you know, the knot's behind it. And then when you close the door and lock it, if there's a lock, it's nice. And then stand close to it, and then you could do your rows. So you just grab, I just forwarded it so you could see, you could do incline rows, bodyweight rows like this, kind of like what you're doing with the TRX. However, you know, and if this becomes too easy, you could just do it with one arm, or you just hold lower, which I'm doing now. I'm just holding lower down. So these are some alternative options if you don't have any equipment right now. So perfect. Karthik says, no questions, just want to say hi, stay safe, and keep up the great work. Well, thank you. Thank you, Karthik. And with that, I bid you adieu. Adieu. To you and you and you. All right? Take care, guys. I'm going to be getting out. It's been good chatting. And I hope everyone is doing fantastic out there. Okay? I'm ending the stream and